Hello and welcome to Doubles and Trebles. We're here with the weekend review on Monday, the 26th of September. As I keep saying, the Group 1 races are coming thick and fast at this time of the season. Really busy period and a really enjoyable period for racing punters like us. First things first, 4 bets at the weekend, 4 losers. There's no excuses really, but we'll come on to that in a bit later. On Saturday at Newmarket, where we concentrated our efforts, there was a good meeting at Haydock as well, to be fair. But at Newmarket, a couple of Group 1s plus the Cambridgeshire. Starting with the middle part, Group 1 for 2-year-old colts, over 6 furlongs. Plenty to talk about, really. Blackbeard has had a very busy year. He's been a busy boy as a 2-year-old. This was his 7th career start. He's now won back-to-back Group 1s, and he could well have more assignments this year, possibly the Breeders' Cup, and possibly back to Newmarket for the 7 furlong Group 1 there. Like I say, he's now won back-to-back Group 1s. There's a lot to like about Blackbeard. He breaks well, he travels well, he quickens well. What more do you want, really? He's now infamous, or they are becoming infamous. Antics before he loads the stalls are making him somewhat of a cult hero. He bucks, he kicks, he bends down, he gives Ryan Moore a hard time, but it clearly doesn't have any negative impact in the race itself. He's done it on more than one occasion now. Did it in France, did it in Ireland early in his career, did it again on Saturday. But yeah, he seemed to sweat up a little bit as well, but it didn't have a negative impact on the track, and it hasn't done so far in his career. A really likeable performance. He's won with some authority, to be honest. I can't see him staying a mile personally next with a view to next year's 2,000 guineas. That is often the case with middle park horses. This is a 6 furlong race after all. The Commonwealth Cup over 6 furlongs at Royal Ascot next June may well be the top of his agenda, but he's going to be plenty busy before then, I imagine. I was surprised, actually, that Marshman went off clear favourite. He was 15-8 on the day for Carl Burke, second in the Jim Crack at York, came here, went off 15-8 favourite. I thought Blackbeard, in terms of his price, I thought Blackbeard would be close to, if not favourite, over Marshman. And it turned out Blackbeard went off at 100-30, what I would call a hindsight price, given that, he was the only Group 1 winner in the field. He won a Group 1 on his last start. He'd already beat the good yardsticks like Persian Force, who reopposed again on Saturday. Really quite surprised that Blackbeard went off 100-30. I wasn't on, I didn't have a bet in the race, but hindsight price in reality. Marshman pulled too hard early in the race and ran out of gas late on. He kind of veered to his right a little bit in the closing stages. Just signals really that he just pulled way too hard early. You'd have to say Godolphin's Mischief Magic also went off 100-30, was disappointing. Clearly, the sidelined Noble Style is the best Godolphin 2-year-old that in Charlie Appleby's care. I think that's pretty obvious. Mischief Magic was jumping up from a Group 3 at Kempton on the all-weather into this Group 1, and he just found the waters too choppy in the deep end. Shout out to Persian Force again. He's been really admirable this season, in my opinion. He's literally won on the first day of the season. He won the first juvenile race of the whole season of 2022 back in March. He was second in the Coventry at Royal Ascot, another good run. And now he's got Group 1 form figures of 2, 2 and 3. Clearly an early season juvenile. Others have caught up. He might not even train on next season, Persian Force, but he has done connections proud. So fair play to Persian Force there. Over into the fillies Group 1. A 63-day midsummer break clearly looks to have done Lezoo the world of good, as she powered out of the dip under a perfect ride from William Buick to win the Cheveley Park Stakes. Again, Group 1 over 6 furlongs, but for fillies this one. To be fair, she's done pretty well even before this weekend, Lezoo. 4 runs, 3 wins, and a second on her other start that she didn't win. She was a Group 3 winner on her last start, albeit in what I thought was an awful renewal. And yeah, she's beat all the right horses as well, to be fair, Lezoo. 3-1 second fav. Trillium was disappointing, but they can't always finish in market order. Meditate brought the best form to the table, and she was now been second in back-to-back Group 1, so Lezoo's beat the right horse there. And on Meditate, she finished second in Group 1s consecutively now. Obviously, I was backing her win only in both of those, so that just shows my relationship with Meditate at the moment. But Lezoo won't be staying a mile. A trainer's on record as saying that. Neither will Meditate, to be honest. Both could be Breeders' Cup bound. I thought it was a decent renewal of both Group 1 races, to be honest. But they've had little to no impact on the Guineas anti-post markets for next year. That's not a surprise. Like I say, these are 6 furlong races. It's normally the 7 or mile Group 1s that we'll come onto on the channel in the next few weeks that have a real impact and shape the market for the winter for the classics next season. While we're on the juveniles, 2 horses that certainly did trigger a reaction in the Guineas anti-post markets were Commissioning and Nostrum. They didn't run in the Group 1s on Saturday, but Commissioning won the Group 2 Rockfell Stakes over 7 furlongs on Friday. She went in there with just 1 career start to her name. That should have been a tip in itself, really, as the Gosdens don't often chuck a horse in, a youngster in from a novice into the deep end after just 1 run. That was at the back end of July. She would have had all sorts of options to, if they wanted to get her out again before the Rockfell. They'd obviously kept her for the Rockfell Group 2, as I've just described it as a Group 1. Sorry, Group 2 Rockfell. Yeah, chucked in at the deep end there. Travelled like a really good horse throughout, Commissioning. Hit the front plenty early enough. Powered away up the Rolling Mile Hill. The further they went, the better she looked. I thought it was a really, really nice performance. She's 6-4 for the Fillies Mile, which is in 2 weeks' time. Will the Gosdens go there? Not sure. A mile is sure to suit this Commissioning in time. And she's 7-1 for the Guineas in next May. Second favourite. Tahira is at the top of that market. I don't think she'll run. So in all the videos and all the talk we're going to do about the 1,000 Guineas, unless connections say otherwise, I'm going to be taking Tahira on. She's the favourite in the market, and I don't think she will run. That is always a good starting point. Anti-post. Also on the juveniles, unbeaten 2-year-old Nostrum won the Group 3 Tattersall Stakes over 7 furlongs on Thursday. Only 4 runners, but it was competitive. There was two Group 2 runners-up in their own right in the race, Holloway Boy and Victory Dance. They were 2nd and 3rd on Thursday. Beautifully bred Nostrum in those famous Juddmonte colours. Should be Group 1 bound on his next start for sure. Either the Dewhurst over 7 at Newmarket, or if Sir Michael Stout wants to wait a little bit longer, maybe they'll go for the Racing Post Trophy at Doncaster later in October. I think that's on the 22nd of October. That's certainly on the radar. He's likely to need a new jockey, though, Nostrum. Brian Moore's ridden him in his last 2 starts. He'll surely be riding for the Coolmore boys in those races I've mentioned, because we have to work on the assumption that Aidan O'Brien and the Coolmore boys are going to have runners in the Dewhurst and the Racing Post Trophy, given that they are Group 1 racers. Nostrum's 8-1 favourite, second favourite, 8-1 second favourite for next year's 2,000 Guineas. Little Big Bear tops that market following his 7-length win in the National Stakes at the Curragh a few weeks ago. He's injured, won't be seen for the rest of the season, but he's certainly top of the list for the Aidan O'Brien 2-year-olds in terms of the 2,000 Guineas. I would like to see Nostrum definitely again this season before making any bold statements about him. He's plenty athletic enough. He's got a frame to fill, in my opinion. But yeah, it would be nice to see him again. There's some people getting quite excited about Nostrum. I'm not quite boarded the train yet, but I could do. And if we see him in something like the Racing Post Trophy, he's sure to be one of the favourites to win that. Away from the Group 1s and on to the Cambridgeshire. 28 went to post in the end, instead of 29 that were declared. My 50-1 shot, Carolus Magnus, that I've been banging on about all week, went off 14-1. So I'm sitting the race excited, thinking, well, we're on at massive prices here. It's clearly someone other than me fancies him to go quite well. I don't get any awards for a horse going off at a third of the price that I put it up at. But you enter the race when they're entering the stalls and that price, you're thinking, hey, we could be onto one here. He actually broke from the stalls quite well, and he was which he hasn't been doing recently. Carolus Magnus, he was travelling pretty well on the far side in the smaller group there, and with 3 furlongs to go, I thought he had half a chance, to be honest. But his effort petered out quickly. There's no excuses. But yeah, it's just a shame when you get one that's obviously been punted by a few, and he didn't deliver. But anyway, secondary selection, Jimi Hendrix was never in it. I can't really comment on him. He was no way near good enough. Yeah, that's away from that. So, yeah, it's just a shame about Carolus Magnus, who didn't get any profit on the board this week. But that's what happens when you're putting up 15 and 14 and 12-1 shots. Yes, there was a favourite in there, Meditate. She came second. It happens. It's Arc Day this week, this Sunday. The World Grand Prix darts also starts this week. So stay tuned. There's going to be plenty of content. So thanks for watching, and we'll be back soon.